Hi, it's Taryn. I wanted to do a live today because I think it's really important that you guys actually track your measurements and track things. I've been talking to quite a few people and some of them have been frustrated with Magic. And so they're saying, hey, Taryn, I don't think it's working for me. And I said, okay, perfect. Let's start digging deep into this and let's drill down into it. I asked what they're tracking and they're not tracking. They didn't measure, they didn't weigh. And so my question is, how do you know it's not working if you have no metrics to begin with? Does that make sense? Hey, Crystal, hey, Angie. And so it's really important. I understand that it may be extremely frustrating. And I understand that you may have gotten to a point where you're like, you know what, I don't even want to know. I get that. But this is going to change, but I need you to start focusing on things that are actually moving you towards health, because that's what's making a big difference. And so the people that are tracking are seeing a shift. And so I want to show you a visual, and you've probably seen these, but this would be 5 pounds of muscle, okay? So it's smooth, lean, and you can see that the blood would be able to be delivered. Nutrients are gonna get into this tissue and it's going to be healthy. So where nutrients go, muscles grow. This is going to be health, okay? So let's now look at the equivalent in fat. Disgusting, okay? So this is 5 pounds of fat. When you say, I only lost 2.5 pounds, that's half of this. I only lost 5 pounds, that's this. This is disgusting. This jiggles. When we're done waving, it still's waving. When we're done walking, it still walks. It's disgusting, right? Have you ever seen this? It's absolutely disgusting. So my point is, this is a healthy body. This is not a healthy body. And when your body has to deal with a lot of this, it's not gonna function efficiently. So when this visceral fat, which is the fat around your organs, is keeping your organs from functioning correctly, that's a big problem, okay? And so I want you to get this visual. We need to get this out of your system. Imagine it's like really sticky, really gross bubble wrap that just needs to be removed, okay? So this is what we're wanting to get rid of, and this is what we're wanting to create. But this can be hindered by that. When this is surrounded, it's gonna be terrible. Does that make sense? And so let's go over some of the measurements and why I love the Renpho scale so much before I get into that. If you don't want to track anything else, I can understand that. Track around your waist, right around that belly button, and then track around your hips, okay? So your belly button area, you go to the skinniest part of your waist, your abdomen is your belly button area, and then your hips. You're going to want to see these shrinking. And this is something that we have noticed. Even if people's scale hasn't moved, this has moved. And what that means is the visceral fat, the fat around those organs, is actually shrinking. And so it's absolutely incredible, and this is a definite sign towards health. Okay, so let's go through the Renpho scale and what it actually tracks. So the first thing is weight. And what I need you to understand is weight is just a number. And so it basically is the main calculation so that your scale can actually do the rest of the category or categorizing of what's health and what's not. And so the weight is just a number, and you have to let it just be a number because it doesn't matter, okay? So weight is just a number that we need to calculate the rest. The next one is body fat percentage. This is a big deal because it's how much of your body is this versus this. So we want this number to be down. Now, the lowest it should really go is at about that 14%, and the highest it should be is at 32%. And so we want to keep it within that range, 14 to 32%. But the more of this that's in there, the more stagnation there is in your body. What does that mean? That means your body cannot absorb nutrients and it can't let go of toxins. But the more that this breaks down, the more of this that is gone, the better, because that's going to be optimal health. Okay, so your body fat number, you want to see go down. You want to see the trend line go down. And even if it goes up for a few days and then comes back down, that's okay. What we want to do is whenever you've started your lifestyle journey, and so if that's with Magic or if this was when you started Pure, that should be the highest number that it ever gets back to, okay? So that is going to be the line that we want to trend down. If it goes up and down, that's okay, but what we want to see is that it doesn't ever go back above that initial measurement, which is why it's so key to actually do this at least once when you're starting. The BMI, I do ignore this one because it says that James is obese. So this is going to be basically putting you up against society. And let's face it, society is not in a good place, so we're not even going to go with that. So BMI, I actually ignore. Should be lower than 25%, but again, or 25, but again, it says James is obese, and if you've ever seen my husband, he's not obese. He does have some visceral fat that he needs to get rid of, but he is taking magic, and so I'm very excited to see that. Did you see that Sean Schneider is no longer snoring? This is huge. I'm hoping that happens for James, because last night I elbowed him about 3 times. BMR. BMR is what it takes to be you. And so that's just the amount of calories that it takes to blink, to do just the general day-to-day tasks. And so that's what it's telling you. You don't have to necessarily pay too much attention to that, but if you're like, where should I be at with calories? Well, that's the bare minimum of what it takes to be you. And as you shower, as you go for a walk, as you're taking care of kids, as you're going to work, as you're doing different things, you're gonna need more than that. So that kind of gives you a buffer, because say your BMR is at 1400, but you're consuming 5,000 calories a day, it's probably a pretty big discrepancy there. And so you might want to adjust that. Fat-free body weight. You want to see this go up as high as you possibly can, because the higher, the better. As the body weight goes down, this will also adjust. So I've been losing pounds, but my fat-free body weight has gone up. So fat-free body weight is what is you. So your organs, your tissue, your muscle, all of that, how much of that is without fat? And so that's making sure that your body is as efficient as possible. So you want to see this number go up, okay? If it goes down a little bit, as long as everything else is trending down, that's okay. But what we don't want to see is where your muscle mass is being compromised. You're going to lose a little bit as you're losing a lot of fat, as you're losing a lot of weight, but you shouldn't see those ratios change too much, okay? Because otherwise it's time to get some strength training down. Sorry, my phone says it wants to die. It's about to die right now. So that's something that you're going to want to pay attention to. Body water. Okay, so you are supposed to be a certain percentage of body water. Now, this is not just if you're drinking enough water. It's not just how hydrated you are. If you feel like you're really depleted, something that you could do is you could go to like an IV bar and just make sure that your base hydration level is where it is. So if you were to go to the hospital and they thought you were dehydrated, they're going to do IV fluids. And so that's something you could do to just know, okay, my body water hydration is where it needs to be, and then do your best to maintain. Maintain by drinking your water. This is like 44 ounces, and I've been filling that a couple times a day, so I'm making sure that I get that. But it's not just about how much water you're drinking, not just about how many fluids. What it comes down to is whether or not your body can actually absorb and utilize the water. Because when there's a lot of this, that is not going to allow this to function, okay? This has to go down for us to be healthy. So what I have noticed is that some people are extremely low. I don't want you to panic. What I want you to do is focus on that number and make sure that that is the one that you really look at. So it is no longer about your weight. You are really focused on making sure that your body water is going to be going up. And so we want to aim for that 45% or higher. And I would really aim to get to that 50% mark. I have noticed that people that do not really struggle with weight long term are in that 50% zone. It's just not an issue for them. If they really don't venture too high out, I would say they're about 8 pounds off from their goal at any given time. And so they can really make sure that that is where their body needs to be. So if you're looking and you're like, Taryn, I'm in the teens, I'm in the 20s, I'm in the 30s, I'm in your 40s. I want you to know, maybe not so much in the 40s, this is your stuck. This is what's been plaguing you for a very long time that you didn't even realize. And so just go, hot dog, thank you so much. This is exactly what I needed to know. So what are the things that you can do? You need to get your body moving. Your channels of elimination need to be able to purge what doesn't belong. But imagine your lymphatic system is around your entire body. Well, it's going to make it a lot harder to move things when there's a whole bunch of fat pinching it off, okay? And so what we want to do is the key things would be cleanse and daily detox. I would take them before I went to bed at night, and here's why. Your body does a lot of system purging overnight. Okay, so your body is really performing during the day and cleansing at night. You want to help enhance that cleansing process, and so giving it the cleanse and the daily detox at night is going to be a huge asset for you. Number two, kind of funny that's number two, because I'm going to talk about bowel movements. You want to make sure that your intestines are really getting things out that do not belong. Because before I talked about your 7 channels of elimination, the liver, the colon, the lungs, lymphatic system, kidneys, bloodstream, and skin, you need to make sure they're all moving. But one of the main channels is going to be through your bowel movements. And so in order to make sure that that system is really purging rather than just putting more and more gunk into your cells and tissue of that intestinal wall, the Me Collagen Probiotic as well as probiotic would be a really huge help, because that's going to make sure that things are moving through. Also, if you have had an issue in this area for a long time, your minerals could definitely be off. And so I would highly suggest looking at the calcium MK Plus, because that's going to make sure that your intestines have the magnesium that they need in order to do its job. Milk and Mag, you've kind of heard of this. Magnesium is a critical element. However, some people are like, Taryn, I get that from, the store. Bottom line is cheap things are going to get you cheap results, if you even get it. Think about how much you would pay at Walmart. There's already a markup in that. So that's telling you you're not getting what it is that you're wanting. Not to mention, you have to have calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D and vitamin K in order for your body to absorb and utilize those nutrients. So yeah, you have the best of intentions. Your body is not getting it. And the proof is in the pudding. I'm guessing your intestines are not as healthy as you thought they would be. Sometimes people are taking things, but they don't have proof that it's actually working. This you can tell actually works. So I would look at that. So those things can help start moving things out and letting your body purge. When you're in a purge phase, then that's something that you want to make sure you're drinking more water. So that's where instead of half your body weight in ounces of water, you want to be aiming to 2/3 of your body weight in ounces of water. So the more you're wanting it to purge, the more you're wanting it to cleanse, the more you need to give it that ability to do so. Okay, so that's going to be a key thing to pay attention to for your water. Moving on. Is this helping anybody? I'd love to see some comments. Or you're probably giving me comments and I'm not getting them. So the next thing that the Renpho scale tracks, and some of you have scales that do the same thing. And so as long as you're tracking these things, that's fantastic. It doesn't have to be the Renpho. The Renpho is the one that I just really understand and utilize, and I've seen the differences. So visceral fat, what we want to do is have it be 11 or less, and the lower the better. And so it's really interesting because we've got quite a range in our family. Mine is right at that 5 mark. I've seen it as low as 3, and so I'd like to get back into that range. But our son, Channing, he is at 1, a whopping 1. And so James, he's in the teens, and so we're working on getting that down. I don't know where Reese's is. But visceral fat is the fat in that midsection primarily, and that is what is hindering the organs from being able to function. And so if you want to keep them strong, give them less of this around your organs. That's why the magic is such a powerful component in this as your toolkit, because it's actually helping to really get rid of that systemic inflammation. It's supporting the organs, it's detoxing. It is hands down the most powerful tool that I have seen, bar none. Subcutaneous fat. I want to talk about this one because when I have been paying attention to people's data and when they're sending me these things, what I'm noticing is that their peak weight, when they see a drop and then they go back up and then they level out and then they have another drop, then they go back up. I know it's really scary to see the up, but here's what I'm noticing is as it goes back up, their subcutaneous fat actually goes up. So what is happening is your body is identifying what doesn't belong, and instead of just getting it out right away, it actually expands and it puts it into your subcutaneous fat. So that is the layer of fat underneath your skin. So it stores it there and then it purges it. So some people's cycle is on about a 1.5 to 2 week cycle. Some it's a couple of days, but do not panic. What we want to see is the trend line going down, but this is an indicator that when you see, and it's very little in some and then it's massive in some. And so it could be 0.2%, it could be 0.3%, but when you notice that you've had a drop, that should be at its lowest. And then when your weight seems to go back up, this is also going to go back up, and then you'll see another purge. but it's going to go up and then purge, up and then purge, up and then purge. But each time it's getting lower and lower and lower, which is really key in your weight. So when you see your subcutaneous fat increase, your body is expanding and purging what does not belong, and that's just where it chose to store it until it's ready to get it out. And so you could dry sauna, you could do something that helps you sweat, you could do a steam shower, you could do different things to really try to release that as quickly as possible. But the more your body allows it to get out, then the quicker this cycle is going to be. That's where, as you get into the healthier zone, that's where your body's going to do this in a quicker turnaround, and then you're not going to have as many issues long term. So muscle mass, you want to aim for the adequate mark, which is going to be the dark green, and you want this to increase. And so in order to be as strong as we possibly can, as long into life as we can, that's where we want to have as much muscle mass as we possibly can. And so you want to see this number go up. And so when you see this number go up, I want you to celebrate that. And if that overall weight goes up, that's okay, because that means what just increased is a very good sign, because that is muscle mass and that is strength. And what burns fat? Muscle. So the more muscle you have, the more ability you have to burn fat. And so that, nobody wants to be skinny fat, okay? That's where your muscles just kind of hang, or your skin just hangs on you. You want to actually have that muscle for it to hold on to. This is lean, this is sexy, this is going to be strength. This is not going to be the 80-year-old that falls, breaks a hip, and then she's gone, or he's gone, okay? Bone mass, you want to aim for above average. And again, that can be where the calcium K plus is really helpful. I can see a difference when I was really consistent with my calcium K plus, that my bone mass went up. And so you want to aim for that to be above average. Next is skeletal muscle mass. And so this is going to be this kind of muscle mass, basically, is what that is, just supporting your bones and your tissues. And so collagen will really help with that as well. So that knee collagen can help to strengthen that. You want that to be aiming above 40% is what you're looking at. Protein, you want to aim to have that be over 14%. And then the metabolic age, you want it to either be your correct age or you want to be younger. And so those are the things that you really want to track. But do you understand? We went through how many different metrics. So the last one that you really want to track is the weight, because the weight is only a data point that helps the body calculate the rest of what it is that is optimal health. And so the weight, yes, ultimately you want to have go down, but I'm actually in a season where it can go down, but I don't want it to go down if my muscle mass is going down. And so if I'm going to see it go up, it better be going up in muscle mass. So I'm paying more attention to what is the weight made of. So BMI, we want to go down. Body fat, we want to go down. BMR, you just want to know kind of where you need to be. Fat-free body weight, we want to go up. Body water, we want to be at 50% or higher, aiming to get that as high as possible. The visceral fat, we want that to be low as possible. Subcutaneous fat, you're aiming for that to be in the 18.5% to 26.7. Mine's actually low, it's at 16%. Muscle mass, you want that to increase. Bone mass, you want to increase. Skeletal muscle, you want to increase. Protein, you want to increase. And your metabolic age, let's get that sucker as low as possible. And so, at the end of the day, this is why I'm telling you to measure, because if you measure at least those 3 points, the waist, the abdomen, and then your hips, you're going to start seeing how different that visceral fat is going to be, and that is a true picture of health. And so if you're just going to measure, please measure those things. If you are going to track, I highly suggest tracking on one of these scales. It'll be the best thing that you ever do, especially for your mental health, because I know it can be scary when those numbers are adjusting, or it doesn't seem like they're adjusting so much, but this is a huge shift in a lot of people's bodies, and the people that I've been talking to, they're just not tracking things adequately. And so I hope this was helpful. But I can't wait to hear more results. Please, please, please keep posting them in the group, and we will just help and support each other. But I am so impressed with this product. I'm so impressed with what it's doing, and I'm really grateful that you're here sharing it with us. So talk to you soon.